Hello everyone, Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game here, and I'm excited to share with you an overlooked PS1 Resident Evil clone, Vampire Hunter D. Growing up, I was a mega fan of Final Fantasy, Zelda, Godzilla, and Vampire Hunter D. Could not get enough of it. And I remember vividly having my mind blown watching the original ultra gory movie on, I want to say it was Cartoon Network of all places, on like a Sunday night. Anyways, from that moment, I had an obsession with the franchise that has led me to pick up any of the books I could get my hands on, as well as the unfortunately short-lived manga series. Vampire Hunter D holds a sacred place in my heart, and it was around the year 2000 that I learned the new movie Bloodlust was coming out. And my first experience with wrong information on the internet, I was irrationally jealous that apparently in Japan they were getting an exclusive game based on the movie. I wish so badly I could know then what I know now. So for an embarrassingly amount of years, I just never gave it another thought that maybe I could play this game in some manner. Well, after 2 decades, I have finally completed the game, and I am shocked to say, I love it. Oh my gosh, dude, I love it. Look, if you have been following this channel for any amount of time, you know I have a deep love and passion for weird and obscure games, and this is one no one seems to ever talk about. But this game had a ton to live up to, considering that the movie it's based on is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, and also my favorite animated movie ever. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say this game comes anywhere close to what I love for Bloodlust, but it did shock me pretty good. So for those of you who may not know, the story of Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust in this game follows the tall, dark, and mysterious swordsman D as he is contracted by a grieving father to recover his daughter who has been kidnapped by a vampire. But D isn't the only bounty hunter who is on the hunt, and sometimes the competition can be deadly, as the family has also hired the Marcus family to rescue the daughter. D follows the vampire's caravan to the horrifying destination of Carmilla's castle, where he has to have an unsteady truce with Layla, the sister of the Marcus family, to help recover the girl. And Carmilla's castle is every bit as imposing as it was in the movie, as she was a vampire so wicked and cruel that she was executed by the vampire king Dracula himself. The entirety of the game takes place in the castle, and the jaw-dropping similarities to the Resident Evil mansion are profound. The eerie quiet of the entry hall greets you, and this massive expanse beckons you to wander the deadly halls of the manor. One of my favorite aspects of this is that there are a couple different routes you can take in this game depending on whether you want to save certain characters or not. And what's excellent for my research is that I definitively know of 2 different ways you can fight bosses, whether you help characters survive and whatnot. I really love this aspect of it, and I'm excited to play it again, but it's one of those things, and I kind of ran into this with Metal Gear Solid as well, is like, do you save Meryl or not? And I remember when I beat the game so many times, I felt really guilty the playthrough. I had to like let her die, so I had to rebeat the game just so I could assuage my guilt. And it was kind of the same way with Vampire Hunter D, because there's a key integral character in the story that you can just kind of leave to hang out to dry, and I love that aspect of that. And it's really cool that a kind of niche forgotten PS1 Resident Evil clone had that aspect in it. Look, if you're one of the few people out there who is also cuckoo bananas for Vampire Hunter D and a massive PS1 Resident Evil fan, then I'm just going to come right out and say that Vampire Hunter D for the PS1 is a must play. Uncovering the terrifying mysteries of the castle while exploring this wild and psychedelic dystopian future that the world of D takes place in is gorgeous. You have 3D PS1 models set to pre-rendered backgrounds, and it is chef's kiss nostalgia good. It is the distant future that has seen untold apocalypses and atrocities while blending science fiction with mysticism and evil. I have always been entranced by this cruel and unforgiving world, and the characters translate shockingly well from the movie's source material to the game. And the movie did take some liberties with the original story itself, but heck, I still freaking love that movie. Most of the voice actors from the movie reprised their role with a heavily altered script, with a few characters missing or merely making brief cameos. I absolutely could not get enough of Bengi and his voice acting. I'm going to go on record and say that Bengi from Bloodlust is one of the best voice actors for a villain in anything ever. I would best describe him as Kefka's unfunny and very scary cousin. This era for the PS1 holds so much soul for me. Are there translation errors that the voice actors have to deliver? Yes, very much so, in fact. Does the game look good for PS1? I actually do think it looks intoxicatingly good, but for newer fans of the franchise, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't take to it. But taking the world of Vampire Hunter D and making it a Resident Evil clone just worked for me. The boss fights did an excellent job of bringing those nerdy moments out for me. My absolute favorite being the rematch between D and Meyer Link, and the absolute best boss fight belonging to Bengi. But it's all here. Left Hand has a moment of massive importance that will be incredible for those who saw the first movie in the 80s. And by left hand, I mean, yes, D's literal left hand is an entity and a person who talks to you. And there's even a section where you get to play as Layla that is just genuinely incredible. And I thought I would dread having to play as a different character, but it was fantastic. It was awesome. The music is atmospheric, and even though it didn't appear to reuse any of the key tracks from the movie, it does fit the haunting feeling as you explore the castle and slay the horrors of the night. Now, I have alluded to the fact that this is a Resident Evil clone, and that is true to an extent, as you will be coming across locked doorways and elevators that are going to be needing power, so you're going to have to solve some puzzles and find keys tucked away, but there's also tank controls in this game. Now, I'm positive I have lost quite a few people by mentioning tank controls, but hey, let me tell you, you do get used to it. But switching it up from the RE formula is D's toolkit. You have a sword that you can use to perform basic sword swinging combos, but the true key to surviving Carmilla's castle will be from mastering D's left hand abilities. Now, for the uninitiated in Vampire Hunter D lore, D is a Dhampir or a Dhampir, however you want to say it. This is someone who has a vampire and a human as their parents. D is immortal and has the strength, speed, and ferocity of a vampire, but there is a softer side to his stoic demeanor. But the wildest thing about him is undoubtedly the entity Parasite living in his left hand. Now, Left Hand has the ability to open a wormhole vacuum in its mouth to consume weakened monsters. By hitting select, you can change between using your mana to cast spells or fully heal D and purging him of poison, but you can also switch to ingest, which will take weakened enemies and consume them to turn them into a magic resource. This creates a really unique ebb and flow to balancing your health and resources to destroy enemies. I'll be honest, it's really clunky at first and it feels very jarring, but it quickly becomes an incredibly fun experience once you start coming across enemies that will constantly resurrect themselves unless you consume them. Now, another mix-up to the Resident Evil PS1 formula is that D can jump, and yes, there are platforming sections in this game which are easily the weakest part of it. But luckily, there's really only a couple because platforming and tank controls just do not go hand in hand easily. It took me 2 decades to finally find a way to play this game and record footage for you. And for those who are interested, I use the Steam Deck and RetroArch to do so. It's a god tier combo that has given me a massive ability to share stuff with you. But it was truly a soulful and wonderful experience. And as time goes on, I feel myself starting to retract to my favorite era of gaming, and I'm finding for me that it resides somewhere between the Super Nintendo and the DS. So yes, the PS1 graphics and the design is intoxicating to me. I time traveled this weekend, and if the 14-year-old version of me could see me now, I'd be happy to tell him that Vampire Hunter D for the PS1 was well worth the wait. games that take existing IPs don't hardly land for me. And even though the story and characters change slightly from my favorite anime movie of all time, it still paid respects to the IP with some gorgeous PS1 CG cutscenes and a bold Resident Evil style of gameplay. My heart is sad that Vampire Hunter D is seemingly fading away into obscurity for the majority of people. But for me, this dun peel will always be wandering the hills of my memory. Thank you all so much for watching my review of Vampire Hunter D for the PS1. If you enjoy these types of videos that shine a light on obscure games from the past, then please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I want to thank the channel members and patrons for your continued support to help make these videos possible. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.